like to call to order the regular meeting of the Peabody City Council. City Council will convene on Thursday, May 27th, 2021, to hold a regular meeting at 7:30 p.m. for the purpose of discussing any and all business, including both in-person participation and remote participation, in accordance with Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws and Governor Baker's Emergency Order dated March 12, 2020. This meeting of the City Council will be conducted via in-person participation as well as by remote participation. Real-time public comment during public hearings can be addressed to the Peabody City Council using the Zoom meeting platform for remote access. Users may view the meeting and make a comment or question to the chair via the audio option. This meeting is being televised live by Peabody Access Television on Comcast Cable Channel 9 and on RCN channels 15, 614, 1161, as well as being recorded by our City Council stenographer. Let us all rise for a moment of silence. This evening, we're honored to have a gentleman by the name of Joseph Swanton, and Councilor Ed Charest wanted to introduce this young gentleman who is going to be enlisting in the United States Marine Corps. Councilor Charest?
Thank you, Council President. As Council President said, Joseph William Swanton is here, graduating from Peabody High, and on August 9th, taken off to Parris Island, South Carolina, for a training in the Marines. Can't tell you how proud we all are in Peabody of him, and never mind how proud his mom and his dad are of him too. It's a great privilege to have him come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance for this night before he goes off, and something that he always wanted to do. He played baseball, football, and track in Peabody High, where he was outstanding and well respected in that community, and now as a graduate of Peabody and off to the Marines, he's also going to be a very proud member here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Swanton, and appreciate you volunteering to serve our country.
Move approval of the record, Mr. President.
You've heard the motion. On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Now we're going to move to the hearings portion of the agenda. First application is from Alina Limited Liability Corporation. At this time, we're going to ask Attorney Jack Kelty to come up and address the council. Attorney Kelty?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the City Council. My name is John Kelty. This matter has been before you for a couple of meetings, and I'm happy to say that my client has asked me to appear before the council and withdraw this from your consideration, inasmuch as he has found a tenant who has no need for the window, and in fact the window will be removed, and there will be a grocer that will take that space, and there will be no need for a special permit. And I have supplied a written request as also to the clerk this evening.
Can I get a motion to receive and approve late communication?
So move.
On the motion? And all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Mitsoulas.
Mr. Chairman, he's withdrawn the motion. That's my motion to withdraw without prejudice.
I apologize, I didn't see the letter, so that was to withdraw. So the motion has already been taken care of. I just hadn't seen the correspondence, so thank you, Councilor Mitsoulas. Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Now move to hearing 4B, which is an application from Spiros Demarcus for 29-31 Linfield Street. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8B and late communication number 2 and refer to this matter. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Late communication 2 is a correspondence from the applicant's attorney requesting a continuance to June 24th. So with that, I would move to continue this matter to the City Council meeting of June 24th, 2021. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, Councilor McGinn. We'll now move to hearing 4C, which is an application from Bosun's Assets and Operations Limited Liability Corporation. Attorney Kelty.
Thank you, members of the City Council. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I practice law at 40 Lowell Street here in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I'm appearing this evening on behalf of Bosun Marine. As you may recall, Bosun Marine is already operative at 205 Newbury, and they have been in business there for several years. They're now have entered into a lease with the former Sea Witch facility. Sea Witch has elected not to reopen, and my client has leased their space. Their only use of the property will be use of the parking lot, which was formerly some 90-odd cars were parked there. My client will put boats for sale on that premises, and we have, it had been indicated to us that there would be a requirement to file with the Conservation Commission, and we have done so. We have filed a request for determination of applicability, and that matter will be heard by the Conservation Commission at their meeting of June 16th, and I'm hopeful that the council will allow my client to move forward this evening and vote to allow the expansion of the display of boats onto the property at 205 Newbury. There were some conditions that were suggested by the Community Development Department. We're fully in compliance with those. The suggestion had been made by the Conservation Commission that we file. We've done so. And I think those were the only suggestions and comments received that provided us with any directive, and the community development conditions were to offload on Route 1, or onto the premises itself and not on Route 1, and we're happy to comply with that if that should be a condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Councilor Sasslaw?
Thank you, Council President. Did we close the public hearing? I don't remember if we did or did not.
So, Councilor Sasslaw, I had trouble hearing you. If you could just move the microphone to you closer Thank you.
Sure, did we close the public hearing?
We have not at this time. I do want to, if you intend to, I do want to just ask out loud if there's any members of the general public who'd like to speak either in favor or in opposition of this. Are there any members of the general public who'd like to speak either in favor or in opposition? I see one panelist on here, Ms. Donna Cruz. Are you here to speak on this particular special permit, if you could? Oh, actually, Ms. Cruz, you now have the floor.
Yes, hi. My name is Donna Cruz. I am a paralegal with Legal Seafoods Restaurant Group, which is the owner of LSF. Peabody.
Counselor, she's on the wrong hearing.
Ms. Cruz, I'm sorry, that'll be the next hearing, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. So at this time, I don't hear any members of the general public who want to speak either in favor or opposition. So Councilor Sasslaw.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the special permit application for Booston's Assets and Operations, LLC, DBA Booston's Marine, 203 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., for special permit requesting to display new and pre-owned boat inventory and customer boats and to allow boat sales and rentals in the BR1 zone at 203 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. Is filed in accordance with Section 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance with the following two special conditions. Number one, all deliveries must take place within property and vehicles should not queue on the shoulder of Newbury Street, otherwise known as Route 1 North. And number two, this would be upon consent and approval of the Conservation Commission of the request for determination for applicability, which they will review at their next scheduled meeting. So move.
On the motion, Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. With regards to the motion, and we all remember the discussion we had 2 weeks ago, since we are not adhering to the rules of the City Council, is there a vote required to suspend the rules of the City Council, specifically Rule 17, prior to putting this motion out before us?
At this point in time, Councilor Sasslaw has made a motion. No one has agreed to waive the rules at this point in time. Those rules are still in effect. He's just made a motion to approve, so I've not heard anything at this point in time. So the council rules are still in effect. Councilor Sasslaw, are there any other councilors who want to speak before I speak? Councilor Sasslaw, I wanted to make sure I heard on the your motion to approve. I believe you had said that one of the conditions was for the determination, the RD. Do I have the right acronym? The RDA. Is there any condition that, in fact, if it is subject to that they would comply with all Conservation Commission conditions and applicability?
Yes, Council President. If there were any conditions that were put on by the Conservation Commissions, they would have to comply with that, and Council has been made aware of that and has agreed to that. That's correct. Regarding Section 17, that Council Turco referred to, so this opened up back on April 8th. I don't believe that, where there was an issue, I believe that a vote can take place properly before the council tonight. That's my opinion. I think each and every special permit is unique unto itself and should be judged on its own merits. And I don't believe personally that we set precedent by each should be judged on its own merits, and that what we do for one doesn't necessarily set precedent for the others. And that's where I fall on that. That's why I brought it forward tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Sasslaw. Councilman Martin, you're raising your hand. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am a little concerned. We do have a motion on the floor, and we're speaking about council rules, so we are kind of going off track just a little bit, but
Point of order,
I think-
Councilman Martin, the motion was made by Councilor Sasslaw, and Councilor Turco asked a question on the motion, so everyone's still in order. Thank you.
Well, yes, but I still have an opinion that I just expressed, and I'm going to continue to express my opinion. So, on Councilor Turco's question during a motion on a special permit, perception, I learned from Lou Perullo many years ago, perception is reality, and the perception that I'm seeing here is that this issue of Section 17 of the council rules was not raised on April 8th. It was raised several weeks later.
Point of order, Councilman Martin. Point of order, Councilor Sasslaw, the Ward 5 councilor, raised that specific issue in the April 8th hearing, raising Rule 17 for the specific matter. Thank you.
On April 8th, I thought it was 2 weeks ago at the last one.
During the April 8th hearing, he specifically raised Rule 17 for this specific permit, for this specific hearing applicant, April 8th.
Okay. Okay, well, back to perception is reality. I am concerned that there is that this applicant is not getting a fair hearing due to a potential special permit of another applicant, whether or not that applicant even comes forward, because we discussed Amazon. I don't know anything about Amazon, but we shouldn't be discussing Amazon during this special permit, and we've done that. So perception is reality. If we're invoking Section 17 of council rules at this stage, I don't think it's fair to this applicant. And again, the perception to me is that it's arbitrary and capricious because councils have concerns about a potential Amazon project coming forward again that I don't know.
Point of order,
about.
Councilor Martin. I'd rather not. You've brought up a point about a potential applicant. They are not part of this hearing. I would rather not we speak about it any further.
If I may finish, Mr.
With
Chairman.
all due respect,
Mr.
Councilman
Chairman,
Martin,
the issue of Amazon was brought up at the last meeting, and this is a continuation of that meeting.
Councilman Martin, as a point of order, as the council president, I had simply requested that we no longer speak of another business in this hearing. That's my request. I can make it a ruling. Thank you.
Well, I've got the floor. I didn't bring up Amazon during this hearing. Another councilor did. I did not. I agree with you that it should not have been brought up. So you and I are in agreement, but I find it peculiar that you're shutting me up when I'm pointing out the same thing, the point that you're trying to make. But again, I'm me, and I get it. So, with that being said...
Point of order, Councilman Martin. I don't normally do this in reference to certain... I'm going to just comment. That was for the entire council, all attendees. You happen to bring it up. You raised a good point. Don't bring up that other firm. Then you brought it up. I'm just saying, move forward. Don't talk about that company. That's my point of order. This has nothing to do other than what I see is how we should run this meeting tonight. Thank you.
And I'm continuing to get interrupted as I have the floor. This is arbitrary. This is a perception clear to me that it's arbitrary and capricious. We're not giving this applicant a fair hearing for fear of setting a precedent that we will not do. We don't set precedent here. We do our jobs. The other thing I want to bring up about hearing from the Concom, if you look at the letter that's dated April 8th, the wording of the letter from Lucia Del Negro clearly indicates that she's not even sure that this matter should be before the Concom. So the fact that we're waiting for Concom to be satisfied when they're waiting for someone else to tell them if it should even be before them is ridiculous at this point. It's ridiculous. We're not being fair to this petitioner. I know why. I don't like it. I support the petition. I think we need to move forward, not give an appearance of being arbitrary, capricious to this applicant or the next one. Thank you for hearing me, colleagues.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. On the motion, any other councilors? Councilor Walton.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to go on the record to say that I will not be supporting this, and the reason, I think Councilor Manning Martin brought up a number of very solid, good points. For me, my interpretation of Rule 17 is that it's set so that we have a strict standard by which we follow, so that it is fair, so that it does take any of those judgments out, and that everybody is playing by the same rules and moving forward in the same manner. I know that that may be subjective to some, but for me, it reads pretty clearly, and that's what defines my opinion. And I want Councilor Sasslaw to know exactly where I stand on this. So if it's a situation in which he wants to make sure that he has the number of votes to get this forward, I understand that. I just want to be clear where my opinion is, and that I will not be supporting this specifically because of Rule 17. And my decision is that that should be applied universally with each applicant. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walton. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the motion, I just want to share my thoughts as well. Actually, I think Councilor Walton articulated it quite well. So I am in agreement with him in terms of my interpretation of the rules, and wanted to make it known the reason why I won't be supporting the motion. Just one further point. I think, you know, this notion of inconsistency is an important one, and I did go back and check the kind of the chronology of this one, and it was a Rule 17 asserted on April 8th. So I think to assert it on the Concom issue and then to kind of change direction on the same issue in the same hearing creates an inconsistency. So again, for those reasons, I won't be supporting the motion. I want Councilor Sasslaw to understand the rationale for that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Turco, then Councilor Rosenau.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, we spoke about this 2 weeks ago, and again on April 8th. I hear what Councilor Manning Martin is saying. I think that when we passed a unanimous motion months ago to adhere to this rule, that, in my opinion, was an attempt not to be arbitrary and capricious in how we dictated who and when this rule was used. And in this instance, I said last week, the last thing I wanted to see was this gentleman lose his special permit, but it seems as though we're at that point where that may happen, and I will not support the permit tonight. Thank you.
Councilor Rosenau.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really feel bad for the petitioner at this particular moment in time. Unfortunately, it was Councilor Sasslaw that brought up Rule 17 to begin with. He was the first person to mention it on April 8th. That started this whole process, at least in my opinion. And it was for good reason. At that time, he was waiting for an interpretation from Concom. I understand we're in the middle of a pandemic. I understand that they haven't met. I understand that that is a hardship for the petitioner. But that was exactly what Councilor Sasslaw invoked on April 8th. That's what a couple of councilors mentioned 2 weeks ago, and I think that that's still what we're stuck on now. And I agree with you, Councilor Manning Martin. I don't think that this is ultimately an issue, and if there are cars parked there, I don't see any reason why on God's green earth boats can't park there. So I agree with you 110%, and I'm in favor of the petitioner moving forward. My fear, my hesitation is this was invoked literally by the ward councilor in the very beginning, and to go back on that, I don't understand how we could say that it's something that we're going to follow 4 weeks ago, something that we might follow 2 weeks ago, and something we're not going to follow now. That's what I struggle with, to be perfectly honest with you right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rosenau. Councilor Melville, then I guess Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I supported this a couple weeks ago. I support it today. One of the main points of any sort of licensing workflow process and approval process is predictability, which is to say if I do X, Y, and Z, the board I'm in front of will typically attach conditions like this, that, the other, so that whether it's the applicant or the attorney will know the process. So, you know, we established, I agreed with when Councilor Turco that time that he brought up in that vote, that unanimous vote, you know, after there was another application. You know, I understood it at that point why. It wasn't my top vote I've ever made, because I do think that the conditioning process handles a lot of the issues that we're talking about tonight. There's a reason there's an elected body part of the special permitting process, and honestly, and I think that reasonable people in here can disagree, and I think that this is a great conversation to have as a council, and I think the residents of Peabody would want us to have this type of conversation. But I do think that this applicant currently is stuck in a bureaucratic limbo. And we can argue, I think there's time for us to discuss Rule 17. I just would not want to see, I have been in this, I remember going through the city of Peabody for a permit years ago, 2009, and it was a bureaucratic issue, and it was very difficult, and you found yourself trying to grasp it, how do I get out of this? And you were dealing with great people, but you were going one place to the other. So my thought is, we as a council can absolutely discuss this rule at another time. We can debate it, we can set precedent, we can give predictability, but let's not add this person, let's not loop this person into this problem. This is a council issue, this is not this applicant's problem. And I think the conditions set by that would fulfill any sort of expectation that the residents of the city of Peabody would have that we would do. So that's my thought. I think reasonable people can disagree on this. I think it's a great debate to have. I just don't want to have this particular applicant involved in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Melville, Council Manny Martin, and then I think Council Sasslaw wanted to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Council Rossignol. And I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with it. But as Councilor Melville articulated, I believe your concerns and everyone's concerns, especially the ward council's concern, since he's the one that brought it up first, is addressed in the language of the motion. If Concom comes back, it reviews it, and says, we have a problem, we're not approving it, it's dead in the water. So he met his obligation, or his own, he obviously operated in the fashion, if it was originally his concern. He's addressed it, and I think that the condition, it's dead. If Concom says we have a problem with this, there is no permit. So rules, section 17 of the rules, it's been met with the condition. It goes nowhere if Concom says it goes nowhere. And I agree with Councilor Melville. Getting caught up in our own quagmire is not fair to this petition. I don't think we're being fair. And it's going to cost a lot of money, and it's also going to cost the city a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Manny Martin. Council Sasslaw, I know you wanted to speak, but Council Gould has yet to speak on this. Would that be okay to have him? Council Gould?
Thank you, Mr. President. Very eloquently put, Councilor Melville, and reinforced by Councilor Manning Martin. I will be supporting this with the conditions that Councilor Sasslaw will put on it. So, thank you.
Any other councilors want to speak? Sorry, Councilor Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for my own edification, so if this is to move forward and Concom says that the petitioner cannot put it there, what would be the process to basically undo what we're doing this evening? Through you to either the city clerk or to Councilor Sasslaw. So if we move this forward and Concom denies it, stating it's a wetland, and so what would be the process to deny the permit, and how would that come back so that we get assurances of that?
Councilor Sasslaw, would you like to address Councilor Rosenthal's question?
I could address that if you...
I'm going to go to Council Kelty.
Without a Concom approval, we wouldn't be able to move the boats onto the premises. So it doesn't have the impact of negating your having given the use to them. It just means they couldn't carry it out. Similar to, you know, any other board that didn't give you permission that you were in need of, you wouldn't be able to move forward without that permission. It wouldn't need to be undone by the city council whatsoever, because I wouldn't have a permit to be parking from the Conservation Commission. In a way, the worst that Concom could do is say that we feel your request for determination of applicability is inadequate, and we would like you to file a full-blown notice of intent, which we would then have to do, and that presumably would lead to the permit being able to be fulfilled. We're not of a mind that we think that the RDA, at the suggestion of the Conservation Commission agent and at the suggestion of our wetlands scientists, we feel the request for determination, the RDA, is the appropriate vehicle to have filed. So you don't need to undo anything.
Thank you.
Council, so it'd be okay if Council McGinn speaks? Council McGinn?
Yeah, just a point of order, Mr. President. We're in a closed public hearing with a motion on the floor, and we're taking
Correct, Council McGinn, I apologize.
from an attorney. So I think if we could just keep that in mind in terms of how we're conducting the meeting. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council McGinn. It's certainly my error, and I apologize to all of you. Councilor Saslar, on the motion, Councilor, I want to make sure everyone has a chance to speak. Councilor Charest, and certainly I'd like to make sure I make my points known on this in terms of which way I may be leaning. Thank you, Councilor Charest.
Thank you, Council President. You know, as we all keep on saying, we feel so bad for this petitioner, right? And I do. But my colleagues make some fantastic points about the article. Other side of the fellow councilors make great points that, you know, it's being held up by bureaucrats, that things are not getting processed. I just can't understand why it hasn't been processed. I don't understand why the information hasn't came forward, or any information hasn't came forward. As I said the other day, I was a supporter of this hearing, this applicant. I think it's terrible what's happening. It's terrible for I like the discussion that we have. I don't like sometimes the tones, and then when people who feel so strong on both sides that we're in conflict, because we're all trying to do the right thing. We're all trying to accomplish and represent the city in the right fashion. But with that, again, one of the things I was taught right when I first got involved in politics is to count the vote. And if we're going to be putting it off again and waiting for a COMCOM to come in, and for some reason or another it doesn't again, and they can't move those boats over there again, is it best to move forward or to, this is my opinion, to recess so nothing unfortunate happens? And that's my biggest fear. Unfortunate things happen to a petitioner who I believe is doing everything right by his own goals, and there's some speed bumps that's happening. It's unfortunate, but again, Councilor, I like the fact that this petitioner has hung in there, and it's costing him time and money. At some point in time, I got to wonder if he's going to say this spot's worth it or not. But I do agree with, you know, my other councilors that, you know, it was brought up earlier. We sat on that, or not sat on, stood on that, and now it's maybe looking a different way. But what we have to do, we have to get the departments, and I know it's probably not our duty to respond. the departments need to respond in a timely manner. And I'm not quite sure how that needs to be addressed. I know it's been addressed time and time again. But again, I'm torn. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Charest. On the motion, I'd just like to, as most councilors have already spoken, I just wanted to go on record that I'm looking at this as a sole hearing, no other applicant. I do feel bad. This is a current, as we all know, a current business owner, at the adjacent vacant lot. My concern with this particular hearing or set of hearings is that where we may have had situations where certain rules were invoked and then we're possibly not following them, that to me is an arbitrary and capricious decision-making process. And so that's where I fall on the line. While I feel bad for this person, I kind of look at it, I do, this applicant, but I do want to state where I think there's a little bit of shade, as they say it, getting thrown at the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission requested and believed that there was an applicability to conservation. There was some back and forth between the applicant's attorney in saying didn't think so, and basically Conservation Commission agent basically said you need to one way to settle this is to file an RDA, and that was done on April 8th, back to the attorney, to the applicant. We did not see the application, the city did not, it was signed May 7th. I believe we received it from Attorney Kelty on May 11th. My issue now is that we had a meeting 2 weeks ago where we had the same situation. As I look at the process now for this applicant, nothing has changed. I feel bad, but I didn't put this applicant in this spot. So I cannot support this particular special permit, and I just wanted to state my reasons. Thank you. Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you, Council President. So I appreciate the dialogue and things of that nature. In retrospect, when I continued the hearing the last time.
Councilor Sasslaw, I apologize to interrupt, but I could not see Councilor Matsoulis. He had his hand up, and I know that you want to certainly have an opportunity to respond, but Councilor Matsoulis, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. I've listened to both sides here, and I could go either way, to be honest with you. But I've got to tell you how I feel about this, and whenever I make a vote, I want to make sure I'm comfortable with it. And I'm really not comfortable with my vote either way, because I never really got into the discussion of item 17. All this went on, if you people remember, I was in the hospital and, I had some issues going on at the time, and I never got into the discussion to, get the feel of it. And to be honest with you, I'm not going to support this issue because I'm not comfortable with it. So that's basically my reason. I don't, there's nothing personal or it's just I want to be comfortable with my vote. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Matsoulis, and I apologize for not seeing your hand raised. And I was going to turn it back to Councilor Sasslaw. Councilor Sasslaw, is it okay if I, Manning Martin, have the floor? Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me another opportunity to speak. If each applicant is separate and distinct, the Endicott Street Tedisco building is when this all came about. And I believe, if my recollection is, that 3 boards were missed. And I raised the issue about 3 boards being missed. I think it was the ZBA, the Planning Board, or skipped, I should say. ZBA, Planning Board, and Conservation Commission. That wasn't an issue when I raised it at that time. And now all of a sudden it's an issue, for the record. And I find it appalling.
Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. So as was stated back on April 8th, yes, I will take accountability for invoking Section 17A. At the point in time, I thought it was appropriate, and I did the right thing. We sit here on May 26th, more information has come forward. That's why I made the motion tonight to approve it. And also, as I was stating before, I was hoping, not having every calendar in front of me, that the Concom would be able to make a determination of the RDA at the next meeting. Found out their next meeting, they had a meeting in between, but it was not able to make the agenda. It is on the agenda for the next meeting. So I just want to explain why I chose to put the motion forward, even though people said, you, Council Sasslaw, brought up 17A. And yes, I did, and I'm trying to explain why I'm comfortable with now making the motion with the conditions that I did. In addition, as Councilman Sula says to us many times, I believe I've done my due diligence. We've been here. I haven't seen one petitioner show up, no abutter show up. I take my job seriously. I try and protect the citizens and the residents of the city. I also try and help them. And tax revenue, guess what? Helps them. As was stated earlier, just previous by Councilor Ann Manning Martin, we know what happened when we did 17A. It was late. It was emotional. I appreciate what Council Melville said. We agreed to it. I think it was at the state of, it was a long night, and I'm just going to leave it at that. The record will speak for itself, and we do need to probably revisit it. You know, I believe we're elected here to use reason, to use common sense, and to do the right thing, as Councilor Charis just said. That being said, I am going to ask to recess because Concom is June 16th. They are on the agenda to make everybody in the room feel comfortable and to get what we ultimately want. I understand we can't come to an agreement tonight, but I believe we will, and you can use my words against me. You've done it eloquently. You've done it well. I'd like to make a motion to recess the hearing until the next scheduled council meeting. One moment, please, as I get my book out. And that would not be for June 10th. As I said, Concom doesn't meet until June 16th, so I would like to recess this until June 24th.
On the motion, Councilman McGinn.
Through you to Council Sasslaw. Do you plan to withdraw your motion? Do you plan to withdraw are you withdrawing your motion?
Yes, I do. To plan to withdraw my motion, yes, correct. I apologize, I didn't include that. To withdraw my motion and put back until the June 24th meeting. Till then, recess till then.
Thank you, Councilman McGinn. I thought he had withdrawn the motion, but I'm glad you clarified. So the motion is withdrawn. At this point in time, Council Sasslaw has made a motion to recess this hearing on the motion. Council Sasslaw.
Specifically, recess it till June 24th. June 10th does us no good. Just for the record, it needs to be stated the June 24th, not the June 10th. Thank you.
Understood. On the motion, Councilor Turco on the motion.
Through you to the clerk, Mr. President, are we under any threat of constructive approval by moving this to June 24th?
As long as the applicant's attorney agrees to it, and he has requested numerous recesses on this already, so you are not in any danger of constructive approval.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. On the motion? On the motion, Councilor Sasslaw.
I think the last time we had this, counsel for the petitioner agreed to waive that. Are we continuing to waive that, Council Kelty?
I'd be
Once
happy
again, we still have a
to-
closed public hearing, so I believe the attorney stated that, so I can't imagine that would change. So under that, I believe we should carry forth. He went on record stating he was not going to invoke that. On the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Next item on the agenda is hearing 4D, which is an application from LSF Peabody, doing business as Legal Seafoods. The clerk will please read the notice.
Notice hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 27th, 2021, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from LSF Peabody LLC, DBA Legal Seafoods, 210 Andover Street, Peabody, Mass., requesting a transfer of an entertainment license for non-live entertainment at said 210 Andover Street, Peabody, Mass. Non-live entertainment will consist of television and background music. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.pb-ma.gov under City Calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Zoom information will not be available until the Friday before the meeting. Peabody City Council, Councilor Mark J. O'Neill, City Council President.
Thank you. Good evening. I see the applicant, Donna Cruz. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Donna Cruz, and my business address is 1 Seafood Way in Boston, Massachusetts, 02210.
And thank you. Could you please provide a brief explanations of your plans in this request?
Yes. LSF Peabody, LLC is the new owner of Legal Seafoods, and we just want to apply to transfer the entertainment license from the old company, Legal Seafoods, LLC, to the new company.
Thank you very much. Are there any members of the general public who would like to speak either in favor or in opposition of this application? Are there any members of the general public who would like to speak either in favor or in opposition of this application? Seeing no one in the room, but if there's anyone on the Zoom application, if you want to raise your hand, we'll recognize you and allow you to speak. Seeing no one, Councilor Councilor Charest, I don't know what I'm doing.
Thank you, Council President. Yes, if you see the application, Legal Seafood has been a tenant in the North Shore Mall for as long as I can remember. Staying afloat throughout this pandemic has been a great success for their team and for Peabody in general in the mall. I'm going to obviously move forward with this simple transfer and approve for the entertainment license to be transferred. If I open it up to any councilors, if they like.
Thank you, Councilor Charest. Would any councilors like to speak on this matter? Seeing no one, Councilor Charest.
I'd like to close the public hearing and move to approve the transfer of...
Councilor Charest, point of order. We've got a motion to close the public hearing, so we need a roll call vote.
Motion to close the public hearing.
On the motion, all those in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Charest.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the transfer of entertainment license from Legal Seafood to LSF Peabody LLC, doing business Legal Seafood, 210 Andover Street, Peabody, Mass. Request to transfer entertainment license for non-live entertainment at said 210 Andover Street, Peabody, Mass. Non-live entertainment will consist of televisions and background music for remote. That's it. So move.
You've heard the motion by Councilor Charest. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton. Charist.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Congratulations. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
We'll now move to hearing 4E, which is an application from Tracy Castrocini. The clerk will please read the note.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 27th, 2021, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from Tracy Castrocini, 7 Rayland Avenue, Peabody, Mass., for a special permit to operate a hair salon at 168 Washington Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under City Calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Zoom information will not be available until the Friday before the meeting. Peabody City Council, Councilor Mark J. O'Neill, City Council President.
Thank you. Good evening. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Tracy Castrocini, 7 Rayland Ave, Peabody, Mass., applying for a permit for 168 Washington Street.
Thank you. Are there any members of the general public who would like to speak either in favor or in opposition of this application? Are there any members of the general public who would like to speak either in favor or in opposition of this application? For those on the Zoom application, would you please raise your hand so we can recognize you if you'd like to speak? Seeing no one, Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been in contact with the applicant, Ms. Castrocini. The location, as most of you are probably aware, is near the busy intersection of Washington Street, Foster Street, and Swampscott Ave. Prior to the 2016 fire at that location, there was the site was used as a salon, or I should say the commercial space on the first floor was used as a salon. So this is a consistent use with prior use. It would utilize off-street parking at 119R Foster Street, which is under common ownership with the building owner, and to a lesser extent, off-street, the off-street lot adjacent to the building. Over time, the salon could involve up to 8 service providers, but I'm told it's unlikely there would ever be 8 persons providing services at any given time. And I see the applicant nodding to the affirmative there, kind of. The conditions on parking, delivery, signs, trash, are going to make reference to existing conditions for the property set out in Special Permit 2017, number 24, so that those conditions will not be in conflict with one another. The conditions have been reviewed by the applicant, and she is agreeable to them. I support the application, and at this time, I would defer to other councilors. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. First, I'll recognize Councilor Melville, and then Councilor Manning Martin, then Councilor Turco.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I live on Hancock Street. Really happy to see somebody going in there. Wishing nothing but the best. The square, it's a major improvement, and best of luck.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it's a beautiful building. Sorry for your troubles, but it's a remarkable building, really cleaned up the area. It's an asset to the city, and I wish you the best of luck.
I thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin, Councilor Turco, and then Councilor Sasslaw.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President. I just wanted to follow up with what my fellow councilors just said. Sorry that you guys went through 5 years of a lot of hard work, but I think it was MRG Construction that did that, and the building came out phenomenal. It looks great where it is, and I just wanted to wish you luck. I would plan on supporting your permit. Thank you.
I thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you, Council President. I am very familiar with the property, and also, more importantly, I'm familiar with Peter and Tracy Castrocini. It's always great to see when someone lives in the city to also want to open up their business in the city and invest in the city. They've done that. I know it's been a long 5 years. I probably have a few more gray hairs. I can only imagine how many more Peter has, but I want to wish you the best of luck, and thanks for hanging in there. Looking forward to coming down and supporting your business.
Thank you.
Councilor Shrest.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, I just want to echo what everyone's saying. I know met you tonight, but I knew your husband, always in the community and involved in the community. You stuck it out. Thank you very much. I will have to say that I won't be coming in, needing services. I'll open up a spot for Melville over there. Maybe he needs a little bit of a trim. But, good luck, and I'm glad you're starting up again.
I thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor Strauss. Any other councilors want to speak in this matter? Councilor Matsoulis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been in the apartments over there with Mr. Castorcini, and I got to tell you what a great job you did over there, and you're going to rent the rest out very easy, I'll tell you that. It's a very desirable place to live, and like the rest of the councilors say, I'm sorry to see you leave Ward 3, but I'm sure you're in a good ward now. But sorry to see you leave Ward 3, like I said, but good luck, and to you also, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Matsoulis. Any other councilors want to speak at this time? Seeing none, Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to close the public hearing.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the application from Tracy Castorcini, 7 Rayland Avenue, Peabody, Mass. for special permit to operate a hair salon at 168 Washington Street, Peabody, Mass. Is filed in accordance with Section 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance with the following conditions. In accordance with the special permit application, business hours of operations are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday. Services rendered at the location shall be by a maximum of 8 service providers at any given time. Parking shall be in accordance with Condition 4 of Special Permit 2017, number 24. Additionally, in accordance with the special permit application, employees, service providers, and customers will be encouraged to utilize parking available at 119R Foster Street. Deliveries shall be in accordance with Condition 4 of Special Permit 2017, number 24. Any sign shall be in accordance with Condition 7 of Special Permit 2017, number 24. Trash and recycling shall be in accordance with Conditions 8 and 9 of Special Permit 2017, number 24. Additionally, in accordance with the special permit application, a dumpster shall be located off-site at 119R Foster Street. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Councilor McGinn. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Sasslaw, Welton,
Yes.
Charis,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Rossignol,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Motion carries 11 to 0.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Thank you.
We'll now move to reports of committees. The first one will be Legal Affairs Committee. I'll ask Legal Affairs Chairman Melville to speak.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We held a Legal Affairs Subcommittee meeting on Tuesday, May 25th. In attendance were all the members of the committee, along with Councilor O'Neill, Councilor Gould, Councilor Manning Martin, Councilor Charist, and Councilor Mitsoulas. We had a number of items on the agenda that evening. The first motion that evening was to receive, under suspension of the rules, 4 late communications. Late communication was from Kurt Bellavance, Community Development and Planning, regarding city-owned property at 0 Downing Road, property ID 060042A. The second late communication was from Kurt Bellavance, Director of Community Development, regarding city-owned property at Squanto Road, property ID 044148 and 044143. The third late communication was from Kurt Bellavance, Director of Community Development, regarding inquiry of selling private property to the city, 156R Bartholomew Street, property ID 144-089H. And the fourth late communication was from City Solicitor Don Kahn regarding the Mullen Rule. So moved.
Thank you, Chairman Melville. On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Melville.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The second motion that, the first item on the agenda that evening was a discussion that resulted in a motion from Councilor McGinn. The motion is as follows: move to follow the recommendation of Community Development Department that the property identified as 0 Dining Road, property ID 060042A, not be transferred to private ownership. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Council Melvin.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item on the agenda resulted in a motion from Councilor McGinn. Move to follow the recommendation of the Community Development Department that the property identified as Squanto Road, I believe it's excuse me one moment. Yep, 0 Squanto Road, property ID 044148 and 044143 not be transferred to private ownership. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Council Melvin.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item was a discussion regarding a property at 156R Bartholomew Street. Both Councilor Turco and Councilor McGinn had some follow-up questions regarding that that would require with regards to Community Preservation Committee that would require the attendance and some answers from Kurt Bellavance. That discussion resulted in the following motion from Councilor McGinn with a co-motion with Councilor Turco. Move that the inquiry of selling private property to the city at 156R Bartholomew Street, property IDs 144-089H be kept in committee until the city clerk, Community Preservation Committee, and Building Commissioner provide information relative to the legacy CPC process of prior city purchases of other property in the area, specifically the the Valley Circle identified as 0 Felton Ave, property ID 106027, and Mercado identified as 0 Bartholomew Street, property ID 107012 parcels, and to further request that the Community Development Department contact the property owner to find out whether this is still valid and if the property owner could be patient as we work through the process. That was not a motion for this council, that was just a report for that particular item. Moving on, we had another, with regards to a discussion, the Mullen Rule. There was an item that had been sent to Legal Affairs in February of 2020 by Councilor Turco from...
Council Melville, I'm sorry. City Clerk has made the discovery that the last item you read was actually a motion and needs to be voted on.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well, all right. I mean, it was keeping it with, this is requesting that Community Development provide that information. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't interrupt. I meant to interrupt, but
identify
I couldn't
that
hear
motion, and that's a motion for that. So moved. That's going to go to Community Development.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? Once again, I apologize for not catching that and hearing you.
Thank you, Allison.
Council Melville.
The next was regarding a motion by Councilor Turco from February of 2020 regarding the planning board and the recording of those meetings. That resulted in a motion by Councilor Turco, move to amend Chapter 10, Article 2, Section 10-13, the following. D, all meetings of the planning board shall be videotaped and made available for public viewing on PBD Access TV or its successor entity. So moved.
Thank you, Council Melville. On this one, I'd like to request a voice vote, if that's okay. On the motion, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould. Yes. Manning Martin. Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Council Melville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive late item 1 from Attorney Don Kahn. This is the Mullen Rule certification that we had discussed at the meeting that we held on Tuesday. Attorney Kahn had fulfilled what I thought was our requests for that particular certification. And that certification will be referenced in the motion that came out of the committee, just so if everybody has any, if there's any questions on that.
On the motion, Council Manning Martin.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Councilor Turco, does the wording of that late communication meet your concerns? I know I'm having a hard time hearing you with the fan, Ryan. and the mask. So the last motion, through you to Councilor Turco, the last motion that was made about televising the planning board, in conjunction with the language of the late communication that was just submitted by Don Kahn, my question is to Councilor Turco, has his concerns been met with those two items?
Mr. President, through you to Councilman.
Councilor Turco.
Council, thank you so much for asking me. Yeah, I do. I'm happy with it in conjunction with the motion filed to change city ordinance. I think that addresses the issue either way. So I think this is good enough. But thank you for asking.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So this time the motion would be to adopt as advertised. Apologize. Actually, I would just ask all councilors just to move their microphones a little closer, even with the face mask. That always helps. I know my voice has got the Irish whisper here, but it just makes it a little easier for everyone to hear. So on the motion regarding late communication 1, on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Council Melville.
Thank you. I apologize for talking to if anybody wasn't able to hear me, but the next item was regards to the Mullen Rule. It was a great discussion. We had Attorney Don Kahn here, along with it was based off of a recommendation of His Honor the Mayor. Great input by a number of councilors regarding this, some history beyond regarding other times that the Mullen Rule was adopted. That particular discussion resulted in the following motion. Councilor McGinn, with a co-motion with Councilor Turco, moved to adopt MGL Chapter 39, Section 23D, with respect to adjudicatory hearings of city boards, committees, and commissions. This approval shall relate specifically to the Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Conservation Commission as set forth in the Mayor's request and communication dated April 1, 2021. I would further move that a certification be developed by the city solicitor requiring the viewing of the video recordings of meetings to be in compliance of said statute. So moved.
On the motion, I'd like to request a voice vote. So on the motion, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
And that would be to adopt and advertise.
Adopt and advertise. Thank you.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Council Melville.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda that, Tuesday was regarding the school department and a memorandum of understanding with regards to Every Student Succeeds Act transportation. We had the business director from the school department, Mr. Joe Scanlon. He provided some background information. Council Turco had some good questions regarding why it was actually in front of the council. There was a section within the actual contract that required city council approval. And that resulted in a motion from Councilor McGinn, which was to move to authorize the Peabody School Department to enter into a memorandum of understanding, Every Student Succeeds Act transportation, claiming under Title 4-E of the Social Security Act dated April 6, 2021. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? Council Melville.
Thank you. The last item on our agenda was a discussion regarding a fee schedule and the process of which the Wiggins Auditorium would be booked for events. It was a good discussion with Councilor Rozignol, Councilor Gould, Councilor Sasslaw, discussing the specifics of that process. We got some information from Allison regarding the city clerk regarding her input on that. There were two requests in the mayor's letter. One was to update that process, which we were going to keep in committee, so that after the budget discussion, we can have Mr. Bellavance and all the relevant parties involved in said issue into the chambers to discuss. But we did approve the schedule of fees for the Wigan Auditorium, and that resulted in the following motion. Councilor McGinn moved to approve the schedule of fees for Wigan Auditorium and facility use and rental agreement application as submitted by His Honor the Mayor under date of January 24th, 2020. So moved.
On the motion, All in favor? Any opposed? Council Melville.
And that's the full report of the committee, and I want to thank everybody for their attendance on Tuesday and with a great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Melville. I just want to comment that was a very robust schedule, and it was very well done and well orchestrated, and we accomplished a lot on an off night, which I know is not always easy for them with their schedules. Thank you. At this time, we'll now move to reports of the Committee of the Whole. We met this evening earlier for the City Council's review of Aggregate Industries 2020 Annual Report. In attendance were Councilors Manning Martin, Councilor Sasslaw, Councilor Welton, Councilor Charest, Councilor McGinn, Councilor Matsoulis, Councilor Turco, Councilor Rosadol, and Councilor Melville. We also had representatives from Aggregate Industries to answer any questions and comment. I'll briefly summarize. For the blasting, in 2020, there were 15 blast events at the quarry from April to October, producing 358,000 tons of aggregate. While there were no written property damage claims submitted by residents to Peabody Fire Department in 2020, there were several calls related to noise and vibration complaints from residents on at least 3 different occasions throughout the year. The annual report complied with all requirements, including noise and air quality monitoring, groundwater and stormwater testing and monitoring. The 2020 annual report submitted by Aggregate Industries complies with the requirements of the special permit granted to Aggregate Industries. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that the City Council approve the 2020 annual report with the following recommendations. Number 1, the annual report will have page numbers for next year. Number 2, I'd like to request that the Department of Public Services be added to the distribution list for the 2021 annual report. Number 3, recommend that groundwater sampling be done in the springtime period to ensure the best chance for the wells to have an adequate groundwater table to ensure a sample can be taken and analyzed. Number 4, the topographical survey submitted should contain elevations. Number 5, we'd also like to keep receiving 3 to 4 copies of the larger maps of the proposed blast plans, along with the annual report, as they're easier to read and review. And lastly, we'd like to request a site visit of the property for some of the neighbors, councilors, as well as some of the city boards and departments that have oversight of your operation. So moved. On the motion, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Yes. Sasslaw.
Present.
Welton.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Matsoulis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Motion carries 10 to 0, 1 present.
Apologies, I also need to before we act on that motion, I need to move to receive communications 8C and 8D that were accepted in that Committee of the Whole. On the motion? Thank you, Councilor Gould. On the motion, all in favor, any opposed? Thank you, Allison, for correcting that. So we still have the motion on the floor, and ask, sorry, long day. That concludes the Committee of the Whole report. Thank you very much for attending and taking part. At this point in time, we'll now move to motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a co-motion for emergency preamble with Councilor Matsoulis for sidewalk repair at 4 Roycroft Road. First vote is on the emergency preamble, please.
On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Charis. McGinn.
Yes.
Matsoulis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
The motion carries 11 to 0 on the emergency preamble.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to have the sidewalk repaired at 4 Roycroft Road. It's in complete disarray, and someone's going to seriously hurt themselves. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a co-motion with Councilor Welton to have a tree at 34 Coolidge Ave trimmed. So moved, please.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a co-motion with Councilor Mitsoulas to have a new berm put in. It's damaged during the plow season at 9 Newcastle Road. So moved, Mr. President.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a co-motion with Councilor Sharis to have a tree trimmed at 8 Fay Ave. So moved, Mr. President.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gould.
Further motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to have the city clerk provide the entire council with a list of any pending referred items that remain in various committees. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With respect to outdoor dining, I know that it's been cropping up a lot throughout the city, and normally it's within our zoning, it's in the BC and the GBD downtown districts. But given the governor's order, things were expedited and zoning was relaxed. So there is outdoor dining cropping up, and there's kind of been a mad rush at the end of this because the order is going to expire, I don't know, in a couple weeks. No, August. And so there has been a mad rush. So the council's usually involved in that, and we have not been involved in that because we voted to expedite things to help out these restaurants. So what I'd like to do is to be proactive, given that the governor's order expires in August, and if the legislature doesn't expand it, which they may till November, regardless of the dates, we are going to have lots of outdoor dining kind of all over the city. So given that, I wanted to refer to Industrial and Community Development to review our language and zoning with respect to outdoor dining so that we can take a look at perhaps what areas it worked well, if we want to tweak it, if we don't want to tweak it, but we need to get ahead of it because the outdoor dining is probably everywhere. I mean, the Golden Banana, they were up looking for outdoor dining. They had food. Who knew? Who knew the Golden Banana serves food? But that, I think that was tabled by the licensing board, so I don't believe that that moved forward. But you learn something new every day. So that being said, we need to get a handle on where these things are and how we want to move forward. So on that motion to refer outdoor dining zoning for review to Industrial and Community Development. So moved.
On the motion, Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Through you, Mr. President, to the clerk. Allison, can you schedule over the next month or so an Industrial Community Development subcommittee, please? Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor? Oh, sorry, Councilor Melville.
Thank you. I think that's a timely motion. I would just, one suggestion, maybe invite the licensing board as well. A lot of what you're going to start seeing is going to be a parallel process. So just for timelines, August 15th is the governor's order with regards to the suspension of the typical process for extension of outdoor seating. The whole goal there was to get it to so that they could come up with legislation to get it to November 29th. That is just a date that was picked. So there is some discussion that could actually be extended further out. But most cities and towns are running into the similar problem of they want to do more, or some of them actually want to pull back because they've had issues at various communities. So, but I would just suggest maybe the licensing board and maybe whoever the police officer that is in regards to doing like compliance checks and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, and as with any zoning review or potential changes, we would extend invitations to various boards. So very good point, but I will leave that under the direction of the chair of Industrial and Community Development, Councilor Gould. But very good point.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Manning Martin?
Thank you. No motion, but I do, not in the form of a motion, but I did want to remind the council of a couple of motions that have been made over the years that haven't been acted upon. And at our legal affairs meeting Tuesday, a couple of councilors were using the word stonewalled a couple times, and I appreciated them using that word. It was a bold word to use, and it was quite accurate because, you know, when councils make motions and request things to be done within our purview, we are the legislative body, and we really shouldn't be ignored. So with that, I wanted to remind councilors of a couple of motions that have been made over the years that have been ignored. One dates back to Councilor Gravel, June 27th, 2019. He made a motion to request the finance director provide to the city council effective for the regular meeting on Thursday, August 22nd, 2019, and then every second meeting monthly thereafter, a status of appropriations for the city of Peabody for all departments, including Peabody Public Schools, and that be referred to the finance committee each month for review. That's never been acted upon, and it's a request for information for the council to be advised of expenditures. So, the mayor proposes, we dispose, and the budget's coming up. It's going to be dropped on us any day, and we're going to have to review it very quickly. Had we had this information been given to us over the years, we would be in a better standing to move quickly and have a good grasp of what's going to be presented to us in the budget, but we'd never received it. Another one that was made by Councilor McGinn that has not been acted on. Give me 1 second. It was made November 19th, 2020. Councilor McGinn, reporting for the Finance Committee, moved to request that the Finance Director, Michael Gingras, periodically provide the City Council with a list of fiscal year 21 transfers made from line items that are under budget used to cover other items. We've never received any information on that, although when it was made, Mr. Gingrich indicated that it was very simple and he has it he just has to push a button and he could give it to us. And that's never been acted upon either. So if we had that information going into the budget within the next few weeks, we would be able to identify at a glance what the true budget is, what was budgeted, and what was actually expended in those line items. We never received that. And that is helpful to us to, I'm quoting Lou Perullo a lot tonight. In order to get a true budget, you need the information. And you need it in it as it comes along, and you need to review it, discuss it, and that is how you get a true budget. So I just wanted to point those things out since Tuesday night we had a great discussion about some items that had come up and the council's being ignored. I thought along those lines I would remind my colleagues of two important motions that have been made over the years that have been ignored. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to make a request to the City Clerk that schedule a meeting of the Municipal Safety Subcommittee. If possible, June 10th is a request, as Council Welton has a couple of people he's invited. They are available on that date. So that was the request, so move. In addition, so many of you probably know, depending on where you live in the city, you might have gotten a robocall that there was a break in the water main last night, at least one. And what I wanted to share on a personal note was actually there were 3 main water breaks, maybe even 4. And a lot of times when these things happen, I know we get the letters from people who thank the Peabody Fire Department and also the Peabody Water Department, and we see those letters in our correspondence. But when it hits personal, it brings it to a new level. And I received a call at 2 in the morning last night that the main sprinkler in my mother's condominium building on Bourbon Street had burst. It was a major flooding operation. The 4 lower units got totally flooded, and I cannot commend to see the faces of the Peabody firefighters there. Excuse me. to embrace a situation that was very difficult. It's been a long day. Thankfully, my mother was not there. She moved out a few weeks ago. And Sparkle the cat has also moved out, and she's okay. And yes, the closing will be postponed, but no one was injured. The residents in the building were fine. Peabody Fire Watch was there today all day. And I just want to thank, once again, the Peabody Fire Department and the Peabody Water Department. Thank you.
Well said, Councilor Sasslaw. Councilor Welton?
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive and approve all papers being in order. Item 9B, block party request for Willis Road and Radden Road. I also want to give just a quick background. I know that this is probably the first block party that we've received as we're exiting some of the COVID protocols and restrictions. I did have an opportunity to reach out to Health Director Cameron and discuss some of the initial questions that she had for the petitioner. She confirmed with me that all of her requests have been fulfilled by the petitioner, and she sees no reason to hold this up. So moved. Move to receive and approve all papers being in order, item 9B.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to make a motion to request both PMLP and the Department of Public Services to install a light at 16 Leonard Road. There's an existing pole there, needs a light on behalf of an elderly resident. Had a chance to speak with PMLP last week. They're happy to do so. Just wanted to make that formal motion this evening. So moved.
I apologize, Councilor Welton. For some reason, my hearing is going. Installing a new light or replace a light that's in a light fixture?
Install a light on an existing pole at 16 Leonard Road.
Okay, I just want to clarify because I'm dealing with it. Okay. On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. And lastly, I'd like to request for the installation of yield for crosswalk signs both in the northerly and southerly direction at the intersection of Joyce Road and Linfield Street. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. And finally, I just wanted to, as a point of order, recognize the Department of Public Services has done an exceptional job with the crosswalks, especially along the Lynn Street area. I have received a number of phone calls from residents on Linfield Street and have confirmed that those crosswalks will be updated as well and should be done in the next few weeks. So moved, or not so moved, just for your information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Welton. Councilor Charest.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to make a motion that a dead-end sign to be placed at the corner of Palmer and Perkins. So move.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Charest.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion on an ordinance and amending section 19-126 of the city code of the entitled of motor vehicle traffic to install from the recommendation of Captain Richards and Sergeant Harkins, a stop sign at Violet and Kuna Road going westernly. Do I need to, there's three of them, do I need it individually or can it be as a whole? Can it be as a whole? Bartlett Road and Violet going northerly, and Darla at Violet going southerly. So move. And to be advertised as read.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Charest.
Thank you. I'd just like to give a point of order, point of information. Last week, there was a meeting down at James Street Park, the Eco Campus Project. A few of the councilors joined us in that meeting. Great discussions going on, great projects going forward. Numerous councilors had said, this is great, I'd love to have it in my ward. It's going to clean it up, open it up. Talked to Todd Busey, the principal at the middle school. He's 100% for it. He loves the idea. There'll be another meeting coming up shortly with the City of Community Development, and after they had a meeting with the grant writers of this proposal. So that's just a point of information. Make sure that that information of the next meeting gets out more widely, so more of the people in the area can see it, because you do have a great participation of people going through there, walking there, young and old, and throughout the whole city and outside the city, which is part of that grant. So that was just an information. And finally, I just want to wish my wife a happy anniversary. It's 32 years that she's been improving me. So I just want to say I love you and happy anniversary, and I'll see you in a little bit. That's all.
Thank you, Councilor Shrestha, and congratulations on your wedding anniversary. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. On suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7A and refer to finance. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. And not a motion, but just kind of some feedback to a point raised by Councilor Manning Martin with respect to the motion that was made about transfers. Just as a point of information, I think there are two that have fallen into that category, and they were for the prior fiscal year. So I don't know that we're really behind on seeing that the list of transfer requests or a summary of the transfer requests from departments that were under budget to other departments, which was the gist of the motion. But just so you're clear, I have been in contact with the Director of Finance about this, and his intent is to make sure that as going forward, when those types of transfers are there, that there's supporting documentation behind it that provides that summary list that was requested in the motion. I just wanted to make sure with him that there was a mechanism to cleanly deliver that to the council. So just wanted to clarify that a bit.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure things were clarified. We didn't get information that we requested. So I'm hoping to get that the council gets information.
Councilor McGinn.
Yeah, so the clarification with the Director of Finance was to make sure there was a mechanism to cleanly deliver that information to the council. And we're talking about the second motion that you made reference to, not the first one. So the second one was a summary of transfers where departments were under budget going to other departments. There have been two that fall into that category that have happened in the current fiscal year, and they were to settle accounts for the prior fiscal year. So there's not a big backlog to summarize, I guess is the point. And there isn't, and I just wanted you to be assured that there is a mechanism to deliver that information going forward.
Thank you. Then I get your point. So then we can send that there is a mechanism and there's only two, then we can get it by tomorrow. If it's
right. So the mechanism was to include them with as any additional such transfer requests are made, to provide a summary with that transfer request of all the prior ones, so that you'd have a rolling list each time we received a transfer request that falls into that category. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Matsouras.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under suspension of the rules, I'd like to go to item 10A and make a motion to adopt, as read. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
On the motion to adopt item 10A as advertised on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Matsoulis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Councilor Matsoulis, I goofed again. We should probably do a roll call vote on that. On the motion, ready to adopt item 10A as advertised. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould. Manning Martin. Yes. Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Matsoulis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rossignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Councilor Matsoulis, I apologize for interrupting. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. Councilors, I was not planning on talking about this, but if I don't talk about it, I don't think anyone else is. We're doing the 4th of July this year, and every ward council is aware of it. And we all found out just recently, and some of us were not prepared for this. Myself, I had so many volunteers, which I haven't been in contact with all year long, and it takes almost the whole year to put everything together. We send letters out to businesses asking for donations. We wait for all this to come in. There's just an awful lot of work that is put into this. And I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I'm a big boy. I'm going to get it done, just like all the other councils are going to get it done, too. We're not happy about it, but it's something that we took this job on. It's one of our responsibilities. Now, there's one thing, and this is, I'm not begging for it. If we get it, we get it. If we don't, that's fine, too. But I want to mention 30 years ago, around that time, the city of Peabody was giving the ward councils $1,000 to do their 4th of July, and we were responsible for anywhere from 300 to 500 kids, and $1,000 just didn't do it. And I made the motion at that time, and this was 30 years ago. I made the motion, and before the week was up, and Peter Terry, the mayor of Region, was a councilor, he doubled the $1,000. And we've been getting $2,000 now for the past 30 years. I don't want to sound greedy. If we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. But I'm making a request to Mayor Betancourt to put something in the budget and help us out. Either double it or put in whatever the city can afford. And I don't think that the taxpayers in the city are going to be hurt by helping out the ward councilors to make life a little better for their own children. I don't want to make that in a form of a motion. I just make it a request. If the mayor's listening this evening, you know, he's got children who go to the parks too. So I think I will leave it at that, and we'll make it through the 4th, that I'm sure of. We got Tom Gould's going to give me ice cream, that I know. So, and he's going to give it to every park too. Am I right, Tom? Yeah. Thank you. That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
I'm just laughing. Well done, Councilman Matsoulis. Poor Councilor Gould is always generous, but I like you put him right on the spot.
He's the best. I didn't have to put him on the spot.
You got it.
He
No,
does it on his own.
No, I understood. He always is very generous. Thank you, Councilman Matsoulis. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. While we're on the subject, I just want to say one of my biggest regrets about not being the Ward 1 councilor is my ability to work for 6 months to plan this 4th of July event, and I really admire the ward councilors.
Councilor Turco, you're more than welcome to come to Ward 4 and help out.
I really admire
Don't,
you
know,
all for the position you're in.
Done with
over
4, you can come to 5.
the next 4 weeks. So, move to, Mr. President, move to ask signal control through the fire department. This is a co-motion with Councilor Welton to check the timing on the lights at County, Linfield, and Summit Street. As a resident brought to my attention, the left turn arrows may be delayed, and I'll defer to Councilor McGinn with.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Turco. I have inquired because I've gotten complaints about that as well. It's not a timing issue. The sensors that are in the road were destroyed when they did the repaving for the water project, and they haven't been replaced and reprogrammed yet. So I've got an inquiry in to, if you can maybe change your motion to check the status of that if you want to move that along. But that's it's not a light timing issue. It's a sensor issue in the road. I've been told.
Thank you very much, Councilor McGinn. I will withdraw my original motion. I will make it a co-motion with Councilor Welton and Councilor McGinn to inquire about the timing of the repair of the broken sensors and ask that, through the mayor's office, that be expedited as traffic down Summit Street is probably take you about 45 minutes to get from Centennial Park to Linfield Street. So I think it's very important that we address that immediately. Thank you, Councilor McGinn.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to have a berm replaced and repaired in front of 13 Croc Mall Road, and that's a co-motion with Councilor Welton.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe this is your ward, so I'll make it a co-motion with Councilor O'Neill. If I'm wrong, correct me. To have the tree trimmed at 663 Lowell Street. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Co-motion with Councilor Welton to have the 2 tree stumps in front of 3 Croc Mall Road ground down, and that's the motion to the Forestry Department. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, move to receive item 9C and set up a public hearing for petition from Peabody Municipal Light Plant on Catherine Drive to install a pole.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Just to clarify, it's on Teresa Road, but it's on the corner of, but thank you. So on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
And, Mr. President, I'll ask for some input on this. Move under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8A, which was a very well-written letter from Jerry Halberstadt of 20 Central Street, number 504, regarding Massachusetts Municipal Wholesale Electric Company. My intention was to refer this to a committee, maybe ICD or a committee of the whole, but I wonder if we should just forward this letter to Chuck Orfanos from the Peabody Municipal Light Plant and ask if they have any intention on holding a public meeting with regards to the status of the project at any time. So I'll go with that motion unless anybody else would like to add or change.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. I just wanted to jump in on that motion. I'd like to just offer one add to it that we've all been getting. I know most of us have been getting questions about the proposed Peabody peaker plant that's going to be operated by the Massachusetts Municipal Wholesale Electric Company. So I'd like to add to that motion, if we could, and request that the Office of the Mayor and the City Solicitor advise if there's anything in regards to the Peabody peaker plant project being proposed to be built in Peabody by MMWEC that will require City Council approval.
Thank you very much. I welcome the addition. So moved.
On the motion, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
No further motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor Rossignol.
No motions this evening. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor Rossignol. Councilor Melville.
Thank you. I think we have 9A still. Am I correct? All right. Move to approve with all papers being in order. Junk dealer's license renewal for 2021 Charland Appliance Center, 15 Spring Street, Habitat for Humanity, 50R Pulaski Street, and Martoni and James, 215 Newberry Street, number 206. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Council Melville.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Obviously, May 29th will be the suspension of most of the restrictions, or pretty much all the restrictions regarding restaurants, bars, and general hospitality. To welcome the moment. Just to the folks out there, one of the big, I obviously talk to the restaurant industry quite often, and a big issue within the industry is help. So just ask that everybody be patient. These folks have been through a lot the past year, and I hope they all do very well this summer. Hopefully we have a good summer for them, and I think it's great to have the discussion with regards to the outdoor dining, so that we're both, it's a good balance between what's good for the residents and for the businesses. Additional to that, just because it is Memorial Day weekend, just want to let everybody know that there's going to be a Monday at 10 a.m. at Cedar Grove, and then at 11:30 a.m. in front of City Hall, there'll be some Memorial Day services, just so everybody's aware. And they'll be flagging the Puritan Lawn Cemetery Saturday, the 29th at 9 a.m. So that's a pretty big one, just so if everybody's aware. But outside of that, I wish everybody a really good Memorial Day weekend, and hopefully the weather will cooperate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. Councilor Gould?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Melville. Ryan, can you tell us, is it 10 a.m. at the new Memorial Park, so to speak, at Cedar Grove?
I believe that's what they're going to be doing. Obviously there's no parade scheduled, but but that's typically where they'll have an event of some sort. Usually it's reading the names of all of the different members of different veterans groups or clubs that have passed in the past year. So they'll be doing that typically right there, and then they'll have the event at 11:30. This is from Steve Patton. So then they'll have the event at 11:30 a.m. Out front.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould, for clarifying. I have a couple motions that I'd like to talk about. One of them is just that, as we know, in just a few days, we're going to have a different operation in this state. I did reach out to the mayor to talk about, kind of the council meetings going forward with how, the fact that, most most buildings are opening up. Mask wearing is different unless you're is vaccinated. And I'm just trying to get input from not only the mayor, but also City Hall, just because I want to make sure that not only are we operating in a fashion that's acceptable, but also in conjunction with them, and that it's a public building. And we have, most of the time, we have late meetings on Thursday night, and there's staff here. So I haven't gotten the answers just yet to bring before you, but I certainly want to just let you know that I'm trying to work and get that, straightened out, if you will. So, Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you, Council President. I appreciate that. And maybe at the same time, in those conversations, if you could discuss with the mayor when they expect the full capacity of the office to be staffed, full-time, as City Hall hours are open. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure, I'll make sure that's important to find out, just because we have people asking questions about services and whatnot. And then I guess wanted to just make a motion as the, current Ward 6 councilor. I work with the residents in aggregate industries when issues arise, and sometimes residents may only reach out to the fire department and to file a complaint regarding either a noise or property damage issue. This might not provide me with updated information to help address and also be aware of issues if that resident doesn't reach out to me directly. So my motion is, on a monthly basis, request that the Peabody Fire Department will provide me with a list of all formal and informal noise or property damage claims made by residents related to aggregate industries. So moved. On the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Lastly, I just wanted to recognize the recent passing of two Ward 6 residents. Ed Gizzy Geisler was a longtime resident of Presidential Heights and was a friend to all who knew him, and was a great dad to his children Ed, Mark, Lynn, and Michael, as well as a grandfather. Joe Finnegan passed away last Wednesday. He worked for the Army Corps of Engineers and used that knowledge to help our city, serving on the Conservation Commission, and also volunteering to help on major projects like the downtown flood mitigation project and the beautiful restoration of Crystal Lake. In addition to being a great family man and friend, he served his neighborhood and city with a passion that is unlikely to be beat in the future. As I said earlier tonight, when they built him, they broke the mold. My sympathies go out to the Geisler and Finnegan families. Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. This meeting is now closed.